speed records mesmerised the 1930s public, and inevitably had led to reckless running. For all its damned air spaceship looks and go faster stripes, Stania's streamlining has little aerodynamic value, and compared to my streamlining, it got in the way of essential maintenance. Within 10 years, the outer casings were scrapped. All that remains of these good-looking locos in their original form is Duchess of Hamilton at the National Railway Museum. Even their record didn't last long. Just over a year later, on July the 3rd, 1938, the LNER challenged the speed record with me fresh out of the workshop. Right then, old boy, we're going to attempt to break the world speed record for steam. Do your best. Will do, driver. We'll show the world what our C4s are capable of. 3 miles after starting off, we reached 107 miles an hour, then 108, 109, 110. Getting close to coronation speed of 114, wondering if we could get past that. And before we knew it, the leader was at 116 and we got the record. Go on, old boy, said my driver, you can do better than this. So he nursed me, and we shot through little fires and at 123 miles an hour. And in the next 1¼ mile, the needle crept up further. Mallard, old boy, we've reached 126 miles an hour. We've done it! The history books would remember me and my driver for breaking world speed records for steam, and me for being the fastest steam locomotive in the world.
That's amazing, Mallard.
Thank you, Rosie. I was amazed myself. It was a glorious moment for me, the LNER, and Nigel Gresley. Indeed it was, Mallard. But war ended the thrilling years of the speed record, and we became the property of the newly nationalised railway system. During the 1960s, under Dr. Beecham's persuasion, BR decided to abolish steam on the main line. While Mallard and Green Arrow was sent to the National Railway Museum for preservation, I was on the line to be scrapped. Luckily for me, a man named Alan Pegler bought me for £3,000 and kept me running special passenger trains before going on tour in America. But nothing could save my brothers, sisters and cousins from that tragic end. Today is the end of steam. The end of a regime that acquiesces to pollution. At this very moment, in a city far from here, the British Railway lies to the country while secretly supporting the treachery of the smoky, coal-burning locos. This fierce machine which you have built, upon which we stand, will bring an end to the old railways, to their cherished locos. All of England will bow to the Celtics and will remember this as the last day of steam.
That's such a sad story, Scotty. I'm glad you survived. But how did you survive, Mallard?
I was sold to the National Railway Museum years before the end of steam. Sir Nigel Gresley, Bittern and Union of South Africa moved to Scotland where they were kept safe. And Union of South Africa was bought by a Scottish farmer. A Scottish farmer bought an express engine? How much money did he have? Enough.
Tell us more, Scotty.
After my tour in America led to Mr. Pegler going bankrupt and risk of me never returning to England, a man named Sir William McAlpine bought me from Mr. Pegler and kept me in good working order. Since my tour in Australia, I was passed down from owner to owner, from Pegler to McAlpine to Marchington and currently the National Railway Museum. And then, after some overhauls, I came to Sodor in 2009.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Shortly after Diesel was sent packing, Henry started complaining.
Tenders are a market distinction. Everybody knows that. Why's he got two?
He's famous, Henry. He was the first to go 100 miles an hour. Besides, there's no coal and water back home. Even my sister Bitten got a second tender shortly after she was restored to working order.
Bullcrap! I can't believe that. I never boast, but I always worked hard enough for two. I deserve another tender for that.
Rosie whispered something to Mallard. She was going to play a trick on Henry.
Henry, would you like my tenders?
Yours? What have you got to do with tenders?
All right, the deal's off. Would you like them, Mallard?
I wouldn't deprive you of the honour, little Rosie.
Well, it is a great honour, but I'm only a tank engine. Perhaps James might.
I'm sorry I was rude. How many tenders have you, and when can I have them?
I have 6, and you can have them this evening.
6 lovely tenders! What a splendid sight I'll be! That'll show the others what sort of an engine I am.
Henry was excited all day.
Do you think it'll be alright, Rosie?
Of course. Just go where I told you, and they'll be ready.
The other engines and I waited where we could each get a good view. But Henry wasn't a splendid sight at all. His 6 tenders were very old, dirty, filled with boiler sludge, and looked like trucks since we couldn't get the budget for real tenders. Have a good wash out, Henry. That's right, you'll feel a different engine now. Henry was not sure, but he thought the voice belonged to Gore. A few days after that event, 2 new diesels from back home came to help out on the railway with the extra work. They both surveyed the shed. It's time, Intercity, that we took this railway over.
Shh, shh, 199. It is their railway after all.
Not for long, my friend. Our controller says steam engines spoil our image. Of course we do. We show what frauds you are. Call yourselves engines. If anything happens, you care nothing for your train. You just moan for a fitter. We bring it home, if only on 1 cylinder. Nothing ever happens to us. We are reliable. Vulgar noises greeted this. How rude!
You asked for it. Now, shut up!
The next day, Henry was rolling home tender first.
I'm a failed engine. Lost my bloody regulator. Driver says it's jammed wide open, and he can't mend it until I'm cool. However, I've got steam, and driver can use my reverser. But it wouldn't happen after Rosie made a fool out of me with those tenders. Now they'll laugh at me again.
He reached a signal box and stopped, whistling for a road. Opposite the box, on the upline, stood Diesel 199 with a train of oil tankers.
Worse and worse. Now old Reliable will laugh at me too.
The signalman came out. For God's sake, take this spam can away. It's failed. The limited is behind, and all he does is be a whiny bitch about it and wait for his fitter. Spam can? Shut the fuck up, or I'll take my tin up there to you. Now then. 199 subsided at this dreadful threat, and Henry pulled the train out of the way. The diesel didn't help. He just sulked. The limited rushed by with a growl and a roar.
Look, Spam Cam, there's your little pal.
The diesel said nothing. He'd hoped Intercity hadn't noticed. Intercity hadn't noticed. He had troubles of his own. He was cross at his coaches. They seemed to be getting heavier. He roared at them, but it did no good.
Come on, you stupid coaches! Get moving!
We engines have a pump called an injector, which draws air out of the train's brake pipes to keep the brakes off. If it fails, air leaks in and the brakes come on. Gently at first, then harder and harder. Intercity's injector had failed. The brakes were already leaking on while he passed Henry. He struggled on for half a mile before being brought to a stand, growling furiously, unable to move a whit.
God, son of a bloody damn mother.
Well, well, well. Did you hear what Signalman said? I thought they'd be laughing at me. Now the joke's on them.
Moving 2 dead diesels in their trains? That's no joke for a failed engine. Do you think you could do it?
I'll have a jolly good try. Anyways, Intercities are better than old Spam Cam. He did try and shut him up last night.
Come on then, we mustn't keep the passengers waiting.
Get moving, you!
Henry gently buffered up to the express. While the 2 drivers talked, his fireman joined his brake pipe to the coaches. It's better than we thought, Henry. The diesel can pull if we keep the brakes off. So the only weight we'll have is Spam Cam's goods.
Phew! That's a mercy. I'm feeling rather puffed.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So, with Intercity growling in front, and Henry gamely puffing in the middle, the long cavalcade set out for the next big thing. James and I were waiting there. They cheered as Henry puffed past. He braked the coaches thankfully. Spam Cam and his tankers tailed far behind. The passengers buzzed out like angry bees, but the Fat Controller told them about Henry, so they forgot to be cross and thanked Henry instead. They called him an enterprising engine and took his photograph. They were thrilled too when I backed down onto their train. If the guard hadn't tactfully shooed them into their coaches, the train would have started later than ever.
Alright James, listen up. Since Henry and Intercity are going to be busy with their important task, you'll be taking the goods train.
Pulling a bunch of old, smelly and, not to mention, dirty oil tankers? Now, sir, does that sound like something a splendid red engine like me would do?
Well, quite frankly, James, I think it's safe to say that the only splendid thing about you is your ability to complain.
What?
Look, I'm not having this argument with you, James, so just do your job, then come back and have a washdown.
Yes, sir.
Oh yes, Henry and Intercity, you'll be returning that bossy Buffers 199 to the other railway, and I will write my views later, just as soon as I've finished eating this bagel.
Henry and Intercity went away together.
I'm sorry about last night.
That's alright. You did shut old Reliable up.
And made a fool of myself today too.
Rubbish. A failed injector might happen to anyone. I lost my regulator.
You? Failed? And yet...
Well, emergency, you know. Trains must get through.
Intercity said no more. He had a lot to think about.
Wow, that's amazing, Scotty. What happened to the diesels after that?
They were sent back to England. spam can was prepared, but he hadn't learnt his lesson after his visit to Sodor. Intercity, on the other hand, learnt a lot from his time on the railway. From that day forward, he treated all steam engines fairly and made many friends in England.
At least some diesels have respect for their steam engines.
Indeed, Rosie Poo. Ah, those were the days. So many memories to look back on.
And some I'd like to forget.
What do you mean, Rosie? Rosie doesn't like to talk about it, Flying Scotsman. Oh, you mean
Don't mention his name.
I wasn't. I was just going to say Devious Diesel. We all promised not to speak of him again. Ever. Speak of who? I'll explain it one day, Mallard. But for now, let's just enjoy this lovely evening. Yep, memories. Great memories.